This is Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of the creditrepairshop.com. And in today's video, we're going to talk about bank levies. We're going to talk about who needs to watch out for debt collectors or creditors potentially levying your bank account. We're going to talk about how they're able to do it, and we're going to talk about the solutions if you find out one morning when you wake up that your bank account has been levied. So the first thing is, who needs to watch out for this potentially happening? Anyone who has a collection that is either with an original creditor or a debt collector. So if you look at your credit reports and you see that your account has been charged off, that with an original creditor, or and the original creditor still owns it, or you know that account was charged off and now it's in the hands of a debt collector, and the debt collector has sent you a document in the mail saying that they're going to sue you over a debt that is owed. And that can also come from the original creditor. So now let's talk about how they're able to do this. Number one, what they actually do is when they get a court judgment, so they go through the process and they know that most people will not respond to the court summons. That's why I always talk to people and preach that it's very important to not disregard court summons. And I say don't disregard anything. If it's debt collection letters, if it's a court summons, whatever it is, you need to keep that communications open. If you're not able to pay, you still need to keep the communications open, because it could get to a situation just like this. So what a debt collector can do, or an original creditor, what they can do is they could take you to court, either small claims court, or they could go what in my state they call it big money court, and that's where it's going to be over $5,000. In some jurisdictions, if the amount is over the small claims amount, what they'll do is they'll get a waiver, which will allow them to be able to not pay as much in the fees because it costs more for the larger type of money cases that they would bring. So they'll try to get a discount on that. But regardless of all of that stuff, what they're going to do is it's going to go through a process. First, they're going to send a demand letter for payment. If you don't respond to that demand letter, that's why it's very important to make sure you keep communications open. I know that there's a lot of videos out there that say don't worry about communicating, don't answer to them, all this and that. If you don't answer to them, you could potentially have this process go into effect and happen to you, and you can wake up one morning and all of your money is gone. So they send a demand letter, then they take you to court, and they send you a court summons. If you respond to it or you don't respond to it, this could potentially happen. If they end up getting a judgment, either a default judgment or just a judgment because you didn't have any defense for you with that specific court action, that's where this whole process starts to happen. So a lot of people have wondered, how can they wake up in the morning and their money is gone? Why wasn't they given any notice? They didn't know anything. Well, the court considers the notice when you got the judgment. And that's what confuses a lot of people, is because they're like, I did not get notice. If I knew that they were going to come and take the money out of my account, I would have did something about it. This is what I want you to pay attention to. If you get a judgment, let's just say that your judgment is for $5,000. They have one route that they could take, or they could take the other route. A lot of people who live in states like Texas, where they are like, they don't have to worry about garnishment because they can't garnish your wages, but they can garnish your bank account. So a debt collector, and what we're starting to see more, an uptick on, is that they could either try to garnish your wages, or they can garnish your bank account. Now, let me explain how they even put two and two together to try to see how much money you got. Is that what they'll do is they'll do what's called skip tracing. TransUnion, Equifax, Experian, they have these products. It's like an app. Just think of it like an app. it's like an app that the debt collectors and the original creditors, they don't have to do it because they have access to your information. But what they'll do is that they will investigate how you're living your life. They will see when you're making your payments. They will see, you got a car payment, you got a mortgage, or, they're trying to figure out how much money you got, and they're going to look for a time that they're going to strike. And this is what they do. They go and get a writ of execution, and it'll last for 180 days. The collection agency is not required to give you notice, and the bank is not required to give you notice. So what they'll do is they'll put that writ of execution, they will file that with the bank. And then when money is deposited, they will take out money. Now, they can take out money as long as money is coming in, they will take it. So if you owe them $5,000, they are going to keep taking money. So if you just imagine this, you get paid, direct deposit in your account, money gone, and almost virtually instantly. You get paid again, money is gone. So until that whole debt is paid, they're going to continually keep taking money out. And that people are like thinking like, is this even possible? Why are they even allowed to do something like that? And they're allowed to do it because they have that writ of execution and they have 180 days. Now, you might be saying, well, they did it once and then they haven't done it again, and 180 days is coming up. That is a long stretch of time. 180 days, that's a long stretch of time. That's 6 months. But what they will do is they will just go right back into court to get it again. So maybe you have money in there and then they're just taking small amounts. You're doing some protective things, but you didn't close out that account, or you closed out that account and they're constantly doing the search to try to find what bank you're at, so they could so they could seek to submit that writ of execution to that new financial institution. It's almost, I won't say it's impossible, but it's almost impossible if they utilize investigators to go after people. And that's what I'm starting to see, is that they're utilizing these different tools and these different apps that are available to track us, to try to say, okay, they got money over there, they got assets over there, and they're getting very aggressive. Like YouTube subscriber stated that she had gotten her student loan money placed into her bank account. It was $15,000, and she owed a debt that was more than $15,000. And guess what? They took all $15,000. Now I'm going to talk about how you can get your money back. I'm going to talk about some solutions, some things that you could do, but I want to make you aware. So please like this video, because that'll help more people who need help with that have potentially experienced their bank account getting levied or garnished by a debt collector or even an original creditor. And this is something, what I'm going to talk about with solutions also works for original creditors. So let's get into that real quick. So if your bank account has been garnished or levied by a debt collector or the original creditor, these are some of the steps that you need to take. And they're not in the exact order of what you would do. You need to look at every option on this. This is like you're putting all the solutions on the table and you're going to see which one fits into your particular situation. So first thing is you need to review the legitimacy of the which is going to be the garnishment. You're going to have to look at, was that a legitimate garnishment order? Like, was the judgment legitimate? The problem that I see with people is that if you disregarded it and you allowed that judgment to go into place and you let it go out a certain period of time, it could be too late for you to have that reopened, unless there could be some sort of fraud, some sort of way that, and maybe your state has to have a proof of service. Also, in most states, if it was a default judgment, they will allow it to be reopened, but you're going to have some information that's going to show them that it could potentially go your way. So you're going to have some sort of reasoning behind that, some evidence behind it. The next thing is you want to look at your exemptions. Now, I want to talk about one specific exemption that we've helped people utilize a lot, is that every state has something called an auto protect on a certain amount of the money that's in your account, that they cannot leave you just I would say destitute. They can't leave you to where you don't have anything to pay to take care of your household expenses. They're not supposed to do that. They do it and get away with it because people don't know their rights. They do it to put you under a lot of stress. They're going to be like, hey, we got your attention. Even if we got to give some or all of the money back, we have your attention. And now let's talk about getting something done. But so every state has this auto protect. Some states say that they got to leave you like, 35%, 40%. Some states have a dollar amount. In the state, I think it was the state of New Jersey or New York, they had they had to leave upwards of about $3,600 in the account. So if you only had $3,600 in there, they're not even allowed to take any of the money. But they do it and get away with it. We've had plenty of subscribers put in the comments say that they had a certain amount of money in their account and they took that money because they're going to do what they're going to do, and they're going to make you go through the trouble of submitting the documents and getting your money back. And a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people, just like with default judgments, once the money comes out, they just say, forget it, and they try to move on, and all of a sudden, it happens again, depending on how much money you owe. The next thing is challenge the levy itself, and that's what we talked about, where you want to try to get back in the court, and that's also with this here, you want to request a hearing so you can challenge the levy. You want to, especially if it's from a third-party debt collector, you want to try to get yourself back in the court so you can first have the case reopened, get the money placed back into your account, and then you have a chance to fight back against them. This normally would happen if it was a default judgment. If it's a default judgment, this is where you would have the opportunity to have that set aside, and you have to do it in order. Like, you can't just say, I want to reopen the case. You have to have them set aside that decision, and then you have to be granted to reopen the case so you can submit your response. And again, you got to have some evidence, some reasoning behind that would show that you could potentially have a different outcome, or the judge may not allow it. The next thing here, we kind of talked about this a little bit with negotiating with the creditor. If it's especially with the original creditor, it would be of benefit for you to look at negotiating. There was someone that submitted a court. They were being sued. They're being sued by